Hi everyone. Welcome back to Judaism for Beginners. This is Rabbi Sandy Zisser. Today we're looking at Jewish history. Just to be honest with you, this video cannot do 3,000 years of Jewish history justice in the short amount of time that we have. So obviously the links and other videos attached to this video will try to give you as rich of a picture as possible. So the one thing we can talk about today is why study Jewish history? What's so important about it? So the concept behind studying any history is to learn from our mistakes, to learn from the past. So there is a saying that those who do not learn from history are doomed to repeat it. We see that actually time and again, that people do not learn from history and do actually repeat mistakes that cause similar events. I say similar because they're never exactly the same, which brings me to a Mark Twain quote that history does not repeat itself, at best it sometimes rhymes, which definitely seems to be the case over and over again. But why study Jewish history? And amazing to think about the fact that Jews are such a small percentage of the population of the world, yet their history is so rich and so developed and so intricate in world history that the question is, why not study Jewish history? Of course, Jewish history spans 3,000 years and begins in the biblical period of time of the Torah and works its way through the Tanakh of Nevi'im, of the prophets and Ketuvim, the writings, taking you really pretty much to the Purim story of Queen Esther. If you look at it that way, the Jewish history starts prehistory, and the Bible becomes a history book. You have the concept after that of the Babylonian captivity in ancient Jewish history. You then have the post-exile period, the Hellenistic period, the periods of the Hasmoneans, of the Hasmonean kingdom. You have the destruction of the first and second temples. That period you have the Roman rule of the land of Israel, which goes to 324 CE. Then there's a diaspora where Jews are spread out throughout the world, or the known world, I should say. There's the late Roman period in the land of Israel, which brings us into the Middle Ages. There's the great Jewish population in Babylonia. There's that period. There's a Byzantine period. There are the Jews who live in under Muslim rule in Muslim countries, which sparks a golden age for Jews. There's the Crusaders period, which starts in 1099, goes to 1260. You have the Jews of Europe and the Middle East, and spreading to Spain and North Africa. Then there's it ushers in the early modern period of time in Spain and Portugal, and the Ottoman Empire, and eventually Poland and Lithuania, and the great houses of study and Judaism that survived there and thrived there. You have the European Enlightenment in the 18th century. Hasidic Judaism is born there, and all sorts of different branches of Judaism are born. Leading up to the 19th and 20th century, you have modern Zionism. There's the Holocaust, there's the establishment of the State of Israel. Post-Holocaust, you have the 21st century, Judaism in the United States, and then current time. So the concept of Jewish history itself also plays as, you can't really just have the backdrop of world history for Jewish history. The pieces come together in many different ways. So you could look at Jewish history through the lens of world history, where events occur in countries and exterior forces are playing on Jewish life and creating that and driving that and forcing Jewish life into different pieces and making history that way. Some people actually also look at it through the time periods of the different leaders of Israel at the time. It's more of a religious view. It's more of the rabbis of the time. So that way of looking at things, you'd have a biblical period, which goes really to about 312 or so BCE, before the Common Era. We're looking really at biblical figures of Adam and Noah and Avraham and Moses and David and Mordechai and Esther, all the way through the Tanakh period. Then you have a period of Tanaim, which really goes from 312 BCE to 200 CE. It's a large chunk of time. And in that point in time, you have rabbis like Hillel and Shammai and Rabbi Akiva, who are in charge of their communities. Then there's the Amorim period, which is 200 to 600 CE. You're talking about figures like Rav and Shmuel and Abaye and Rava. Then you have the Geonim period, which is 589 to 1030 CE, the Common Era. You have Rabbi Sadia Gaon, you have people like him in charge. The Rishonim is 1000 to 1500 CE, which is Rashi and Rambam and Ramban and people like that, commentaries like that. And then you have the Achronim period, which goes from 1500s up to today, which are really looking at modern people, Rabbi Joseph Karo, the Baal Shem Tov, the Vilna Gaon, Chavetz Chaim, people like that, up through modern times. There are people in Judaism who relate Jewish history to the time periods and break them down that way, where they don't use the secular view. So there's a lot to learn about Jewish history, both internally, which I would use the last list for, and externally, where you have other forces at play with the history of the Jews. I do believe that regardless of how you look at Judaism, the main piece is to actually study Judaism, study the history of Judaism, and figure out where we came from and where we're going. It's interesting because Judaism is a people, a culture, and a religion. You can't actually separate out the religious history from the secular history of Judaism. I wish you luck on this, and enjoy the videos and links.